I felt like my heart was literally going to come out of my chest. Like, I went to the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I could actually see my heart beating through my chest. That's how fast it was beating. Next thing I know, my arms, literally from here all the way to my fingers, my arms start going numb. And my fingers literally locked up like this. Like, I could not. I'm sitting there like this, and I couldn't move. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm having a stroke. I was like, y'all are not gonna have me out here dying. I'm yelling. People are looking at me crazy, like, what's wrong with her? I'm like, I need a nurse right now. Hey guys, it's me, Jasmine Z, and welcome back to my channel. So if you guys have been watching me for a while, you would know that I've been MIA. I have not posted a video in maybe almost 6 months now. And if you're familiar with any of my past videos, you would know that I was living in Madrid, Spain. I was an English teacher. And while I was there, this is when all of the anxiety and panic attacks started for me. So I wanted to make a video just kind of talking about my journey and just relating to anybody out there who may be going through the same thing as me. And then it kind of helps me to like talk about it and just get the feelings out and everything. But in October of last year is when kind of all this really started. And I had been living in Spain for about a month at that point. I will be honest and say it was a stressful time because moving to a foreign country is not just something you just, oh, here we go, everything's fine. I had to find a place to live. I had to go through a lot of paperwork, and it was just like a lot of different things I was juggling. But I thought, you know, I was fine. So naturally throughout my life, I've always kind of been a little bit more of an anxious person, but it was never to the point where I couldn't control it. And it was never like something that I wouldn't consciously think about, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious, or I feel, you know, I have so much anxiety. I never was like that. It was just kind of something that was there lingering in the background. Well, as I said, I was an English teacher. So last October, I was at school one day and it started with like a stomach ache. I was kind of feeling like nauseous. This was like within the first period of the day. So I'd only been at school for maybe like 30 minutes or so. And I thought, oh, you know, maybe I ate something bad. It kind of felt like a stomach ache. You know, like if you take a vitamin on an empty stomach and it kind of just makes you feel a little bit, you know? It was like that. So I thought, oh, maybe it's something I ate for breakfast, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. So I went to the next class and I noticed that I was starting to feel like, I was just starting to feel weird and like spacey almost. And I remember I was having a conversation with the teacher for that hour, and he was telling me, okay, this is what we're gonna do for the period and whatever. And as I was talking to him, it was like I was focused on his face, and then the background, like behind him, like everything kind of started to get blurry. And like now I know what panic attacks are and I know what these terms are, but I guess this would be like derealization, where I started to feel like I was in a movie, like I wasn't really living, like things were kind of going in slow motion. It's really hard to explain that, but if you've had panic attacks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I felt that, and I was like, when I was talking to him, it was like I was in a TV show where they have like the little birds like flying around the person's head, like, and I'm just looking at him like, ugh, like, and he could tell something was off, but I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. Just disregard that. I'm good. So I go and stand in the back of the classroom, and the kids are like, it's fine. Like, it's not even a stressful situation. The kids are like doing arts and crafts or whatever. I'm just kind of standing there doing nothing. And then I just really, really start to feel like weak and like not myself. So I told him like, hey, can I go to the bathroom for a second? Of course, that's no issue. I go to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden I just feel this like wave of emotion. Like I wanted to cry and I didn't know why. I'm like, I'm not sad. I'm not upset about anything. Why am I all of a sudden feeling like I just want to bawl my eyes out? So I just like breathe a little bit, tell myself, you're fine, Jasmine, you're good. Cause I mean, I don't know what's happening. I'm just like, this is weird, you know? So I go back to the classroom and I try to just get my mind off of it. I try to focus on the kids. I'm trying to talk to them, have conversations, but I still wasn't feeling right. And it got to the point where I was standing in the back and I started to feel very weak and like unstable. Like I was just standing there and I felt like I was kind of like swaying. And at that point I felt like, okay, there's a possibility I might pass out, and I didn't want to scare the kids because they were first graders. I was like, I don't want to scare them. They don't know what's happening. So I start to like walk out of the classroom to go into the hallway, anticipating that I might pass out. Of course, I didn't make it to the door. I passed out in front of, the class and everything. And it wasn't like I blacked out or anything. Like, I was aware, I was conscious of what was happening, but it was like suddenly I just felt so weak and drained of energy. Like, I could not open my eyes. I could barely talk. I couldn't walk. Like, the analogy I use is as if like I was a phone and my battery died. Like, it felt like I just boom, like all the energy was zapped from me in that moment. And since this was the first time this happened to me, I'm like thinking, what's going on? Am I dying? Like, what's happening? And so the teachers all rushed to me and they're trying to help me. They're trying to talk to me. They're trying to get me to say like how I'm feeling. And all I could say was, I feel so weak. I feel so weak. I feel so weak. And I'm like whispering it. I'm not even talking the way I'm talking to you now. I'm literally like laying there like, I feel so weak. Like, and then I even was telling one of the teachers, like, I was like, please don't let me die. Because I was like, I didn't know what was going on. So they were like, okay, we're going to call the ambulance so you can get checked out. So eventually, the ambulance comes and everything. And I remember them like having to literally drag me through the school. Like, I could not walk. I don't know why that's was the main symptom for me, but I just felt so weak I couldn't do that. And the medic at the time, he was like asking me questions. Now, mind you, they're speaking English, but their English isn't like the best. I'm literally living in Spain, so English is not everybody's first language. So they're trying to understand me. I'm trying to communicate to them when I can barely talk. But the medic was like asking me, well, did you take any drugs? Well, how much drugs did you take? Well, when did you take these drugs? And did you drink alcohol? And are you drunk? And I'm trying to tell him like, no, sir, I did nothing. I didn't take anything. But I couldn't like communicate that to him. So eventually they decide, okay, let's take her to the hospital. Because I think they were trying to see if I would just kind of like snap out of it, but I didn't. And so I was in the hospital. At that point, I guess you could say I kind of blacked out, but because I don't really remember exactly what happened. I just remember like being asleep basically. And then waking up a few hours later, I had like an IV and like all this stuff. And the doctors had run tests on me, did all the things you do, and they were like, there's nothing wrong, like we can't find anything. And I was like, okay, well, that's weird. So I figured, I kind of chalked all that up to stress. I was like, all right, you know what, I'm stressed. Sometimes your body just reacts that way when you're really stressed. I did just move to a new country by myself, whatever. Well, fast forward a month later, and pretty much the exact same thing happens. Again, I was at school. This time I felt a little bit more of like my heart racing, and I was sitting at my computer, like doing work, whatever, like wasn't really doing anything, and all of a sudden I just feel my heart's like racing, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? And then I started to feel dizzy and like, kind of unstable again. And mind you, I'm sitting down at this point, like I'm not doing anything, I'm not expending any energy. But I just started to feel like the same thing was happening again. So I went to try to find a teacher that spoke English, because at the time there was teachers around me, but they all spoke Spanish. And I was like, I need to communicate with somebody. Hey, I need to go lay down or something, go to the nurse's office or something. So when I walked in the hallway, thankfully, at the exact time that I was walking out in the hallway, one of the teachers who like knew me and knew English and everything, he was coming towards me, and I was trying to tell him like, hey, I'm not feeling good. I need to go to the nurse's office and go lay down. But I just remember feeling so disoriented and so confused. It was like the words couldn't come out of my mouth quite right. And I was trying to like find the elevator, and I was like walking in circles. I just felt very disoriented. But again, heart racing, feeling weak, all that stuff. Finally go lay down in the office, and then I start shaking. Like, whole body is shivering. Actually, it wasn't really shaking, but I was shivering. Like, I was so cold. And I mean, I wasn't actually cold. That was just how my body was reacting at the time. Like, I was just shivering uncontrollably. And then 20 minutes later, I'll be burning up hot. Like, it was kind of like this. Like, my body was trying to find equilibrium, like, was trying to find the balance, and it was just going from one extreme to the other. And eventually they decided, okay, she needs to go to the hospital. They didn't call the ambulance that time because I actually had a very close friend of mine. She lived nearby and she was able to come pick me up and take me to the hospital. But all that to say, went through all the testing all over again, and what do you know, everything's fine. And I'm telling you guys, they did blood work, they did EKG, they did all the scans and the oxygen level and the blood pressure and everything, and they're like, no, nothing's wrong with you. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Why is this happening? So fast forward another month. At this point, it's December, and I went to England. I went to London, England to visit, well, not to visit, but to meet up with my mom and my sister. We were gonna celebrate New Year's Eve there because I hadn't, been with my family for the past few months. And so literally the first night we're there, sure enough, when we're having dinner, I start to feel that feeling again. And I'm telling you guys, it was like, it just comes out of nowhere. I mean, again, if you're familiar with panic attacks, you know that's how it happens. Like, there's not really a real trigger for it. It just kind of happens whenever. And this time I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like try to talk myself out of it. Like, it's fine, I'm good. But I couldn't get over that feeling of like panic, basically. So we end up going back to the hotel and I take a nap. I'm like, all right, maybe if I sleep it off, I'll be fine. But I woke up out of my sleep and my heart again was pounding. And you guys, if you know panic attacks, you know that feeling. It's literally like you're having a heart attack. Like, you just feel like your heart just is gonna come out of your chest. That's how I was feeling. And I'm like, I was asleep. I wasn't even dreaming at the time. I just woke up and my heart was going crazy. And so my mom was right next to me, in the bed right next to me, and I'm telling her, like, it's happening again. I don't know what's happening, And she's like, well, try to go to the bathroom, like, just walk around the room a little bit, go to the bathroom. When I tell you guys, I literally could not walk to the bathroom. I was so drained of energy, and I started to breathe like I was like out of breath. It felt like I just couldn't possibly walk 10 steps without, collapsing. So I get back in the bed, and at this point, now everything's kind of starts to go like this, and my hands are like all clammy and sweaty and everything. And my mom's trying to calm me down, and I'm trying to like talk myself out of it and say, okay, no, I'm fine. Even though I am feeling this way, no, I'm fine. But eventually it gets to that point where it's like, all right, I need to go to the hospital. I need to hear from a doctor that I'm not dying, because that's what it feels like. It feels, again, like I'm having a heart attack or something, is gonna happen. So we call, it's not 911, but whatever the number was for England. And they were like, nobody answered. It was like an automated system. And the system said like, oh, if this is an emergency, fill out a form online. And like, it was a whole process. It wasn't just like, oh, 911, what's your emergency? No. Like, it was a whole process. And we're like, that's weird. Did we like call the wrong number or something? So then we called the front desk and we're like, hey, we need a medic. Like, we need, somebody to come up here and check on her, whatever. And my thought at the time was, I didn't actually want to go to the hospital. I just wanted them to the paramedics to come check my pressure, check my levels, and make sure I'm good, and then just send me on my way. But apparently the medical healthcare system, whatever, is very messed up in England. And if you happen to be from England and you're watching this video, I'm sorry, I'm about to talk trash about your country. I'm so sorry. But they ended up calling, the front desk calls the ambulance, and they get the same information we get. And they were like, so it's gonna be about an hour before somebody can come, to come get you. And we're like, this is an emergency. Like, this is with my chest. Like, I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack or something. Like, this is not my toe hurts. This is my chest. I might die. Like, who knows if I might die? And apparently that's just how it is. They're so backed up and so understaffed. There's just different things that go on with their system that it's just like that sometimes. Sometimes you could be waiting for more than an hour for the ambulance to come. So we ended up taking an Uber to go to the hospital. And just the process of getting to the Uber was complicated for me because, again, I could barely walk. So my mom is literally carrying me, you know, to the elevator. I'm taking baby steps and I'm like still feeling like I can't breathe. We finally get to the hospital, and at this point I'm so winded that I'm telling you, my mom literally had to like just physically carry me in there. And when we get in there, it's like a scene from a movie. When I tell you, it was like a World War II, like everybody and their mom is in there, people's limbs falling off, and just everybody needs help. And I'm like, wait a minute, why are there a million people in here? Like, how long is this gonna take? Well, it took a long time. It took a long time for me to get help, because they ended up telling me, okay, go sit over there. You know, you have to wait your turn, whatever. Mind you, I'm literally hunched over like this, like barely. I literally put my head down, like at the front counter when we walk in. They're like, okay, we'll fill out this paperwork and go sit over there and we'll like call you. And I'm like, you guys, I'm dying. Please help me. But there's not much they could do, because there were so many people that were there and they were just so backed up with, you know, with treating people. So my mom's filling out the paperwork and I'm just like laid back in the chair like this. And again, heart starts racing, starts going really fast and everything. And I'm looking around and I'm like, this is gonna take so long. Now this is kind of where I messed myself up, because mentally I think I freaked myself out even more. And so I'm thinking, this is gonna take forever. Like, I'm gonna die sitting over here. So next thing I know, my arms, literally from here all the way to my fingers, my arms start going numb. My arms and a little bit of my legs at the time, but mostly my arms start going numb. And my fingers literally locked up like this. Like, I could not. I'm sitting there like this and I couldn't move. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm having a stroke. So what do? I start yelling at the top of my lungs. I was like, I need help right now. I need somebody. I was yelling, so I did not care. I was like, y'all are not gonna have me out here dying. I'm yelling. People are looking at me crazy, like, what's wrong with her? I'm like, I need a nurse right now. Like, I was going crazy. And did I get a nurse? No, I still didn't get a nurse. I did not. They called me up to the thing, to the like counter, and all they did was they put the little, it's called a pulse oximeter, where they like check your oxygen levels and my blood pressure. And they didn't even say anything. I think it's because it was really high and they didn't want to freak me out even more. And they were just like, okay, go sit over there. We'll try to get you back there as fast as we can. You guys, an hour passes, 2 hours pass. At this point, I'm still, it's like the numbness kind of went away for a second, but then it came back and I just would like feel it so much in my chest. I literally start saying my goodbyes to my mom. Like, this sounds like an exaggeration, but I literally started telling my mom, I love you. I love everybody. Like, let everybody know I love them. Like, I'm praying to God, like, Lord, please save me. But if I die, just please let me make it into heaven. Like, I was convinced I was about to die. And still had to wait another hour, And at one point, let me go back. We got to the hospital around like 9 or 10 p.m. And so at this point, it's like midnight / like 1 a.m. Somebody comes out to the waiting room and is like, so guys, we only have one doctor on staff right now. It's gonna be about a 5-hour wait. So if you have like a minor injury, can you come back tomorrow? And I was like, this is not real. This cannot be real life. This has to be a dream or something. Please wake me up. This is a nightmare. But it was real. So all that to say, I did not get to the back. My mom and I ended up waiting it out just to see, because my mom kept going, and love my mom. She just was so supportive and just there for me, really. I mean, of course, that's my mom. That's what she does. But she kept going up there like, you guys, please get her back there. What are you doing? So I don't think I made it back there until like, I don't know, 2 a.m. or something like that. They run all the tests. They do the blood work. They do this, they do that. What do you know? There's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, okay, wait. So at this point, this has happened 3 times to me. Everyone's telling me I'm fine. I'm in another country, okay? Not in America. I'm not in Spain. I'm in England. And now the doctors are telling me the same thing, that I'm okay. I'm like, all right, wait a minute. So the next day, I was still feeling very weak, but I was like, all right, they're telling me I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't know what's going on, but I'm fine. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward again. It is now February of 2023. And I'm at school or at work, whatever you want to call it. And again, the same thing starts to happen. This time starts with my heart racing. And at this point, I'm like, all right, you know what? I already know how this game goes. I'm not about to do this again. I'm not about to make a scene and do all this stuff. I know that nothing's really wrong with me. So I'm standing in the back of the classroom, and this happens to be in the same class that I had passed out in before. And the teacher, at this point, we know each other pretty well, so he can kind of read me, and I'm pretty expressive anyway, so he knows something's wrong. But I'm just like trying to lay low and like stay quiet in the corner, like telling myself everything's fine. But he comes up to me, he's like, are you okay? What's going on? And I told him, I said, listen, my heart's racing right now. I'm not sure why. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to feed into it. That's the exact words I used. I said, I don't want to feed into this. I don't want, I was like, don't worry about it. Don't ask me what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I'm fine. And so I'm trying to convince myself I'm fine. When he says, if you need to sit down, go ahead, take my chair, go sit down. And I'm like, no, I don't need to sit down. I'm good. I'm good. So a few minutes later, the weakness starts to come on again. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to pass out in front of these kids again. I don't want to traumatize them. Let me go ahead and sit my happy tail down. Let me go sit down. So I sit down. And again, I'm trying to talk to myself. You're fine, Jasmine. You're fine. I'm trying to focus on the kids, focus on, kind of distract myself. But eventually it gets to the point where I'm literally sitting there. You guys can't see my hands, but I'm like sitting there kind of like this, like just rocking back and forth, like trying to like tell myself I'm good. I couldn't resist, you guys. Like the panic attack happened again. And I just remember telling the teacher, can I just go to the nurse's office and go lay down? Again, I was not trying to go to the hospital. I was like, let me just lay down for a few minutes. I could not walk to the room. I could not walk to the nurse's room. He had to carry me, not like actually pick me up, but I was leaning on him. And every single step I would take would feel like I couldn't breathe. Again, it was that like breathlessness, So again, I go lay down and my body gets to just convulsing. Like I could not stop shaking. And I wasn't even cold at this point. I was just shaking uncontrollably. And yet again, went to the hospital. They do tests on me, all the things, again. This time they do a chest x-ray on me. They're like, okay, maybe something's going on with her heart. I don't know. I'm like, guys, please, there has to be an answer. Nothing is wrong. Again, 2 weeks later, the same thing happens again. This time I was at home and I was actually falling asleep and it woke me up out of my sleep. And what do we do again? Because that time my heart was beating so, when I tell you guys, I felt like my heart was literally going to come out of my chest. Like I went to the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror and I could actually see my heart beating through my chest. That's how fast it was beating. So I called my friend, and she was able to take me to the hospital once again. And since I was just there a few weeks before that was for the same thing, they actually remembered me. They're like, oh, here she is again. Like, here she goes. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? I'm smiling right now, but y'all know, like, this was not, I was crying. Like, this whole process was very stressful or whatever. But go to the hospital, go through the whole thing. And I reached that point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I can't go through this. I don't know what this is. And they ended up telling me like anxiety. Like that was always the word that people use. They never said panic attacks. The doctors never told me anything about panic attacks. They always said, oh, maybe you have anxiety. And I'm like, ain't no way it's anxiety. But that's when I decided, after that last episode back in February, that's when I decided to start doing my own research. And I remember Googling, feels like a heart attack, but not. And then I came across panic attacks and I started reading, I read Reddit a lot, and I started reading what other people were saying they were experiencing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm going through. This is exactly it. And so that kind of made me feel a lot better to know, okay, this is the answer. This is what it is. But then that's kind of where it shifted to, okay, now this is something very real that I'm dealing with. Clearly, I'm not able to like control it or manage it very well. I need to start learning, about what I can do to fix it. So fast forwarding to current day, it's been almost a year since, all this has started. And now I'll say this, I still very much deal with the anxiety and I still have panic attacks. I don't have them as intensely as I did before. Like, I don't pass out, or, you know, I'm able to walk and talk and everything, but I have them more frequently. Like, as you can tell from what I said before, I would have them maybe once to twice a month. Now I'm kind of having them once a week, especially because my circumstances have changed. I've moved back to America, and, you know, there's stress within that. And so I'm still dealing with that, you know, to this day. But right now, what I more so struggle with is still the heart racing, dizziness. That's like a really big thing for me. I'm always, not always, but frequently when I'm like standing or walking, I feel really like off balance. And then kind of just feeling breathless sometimes. And as they say, that impending sense of doom, I have that where when I'm having an attack, I'm convinced that I'm gonna die, basically. So what I'm doing now to kind of cope with that and deal with that is, number one, therapy. I did start going to therapy again. I go every week, and it's been maybe like a couple months now. And I plan to just do that indefinitely. And I think for me, therapy helps just to lower my overall level of anxiety, and that in turn also helps, you know, the panic attacks. So anxiety is one thing. I also take ashwagandha. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's kind of like, it's a more natural remedy, I guess you can say. It's supposed to help with anxiety. I actually should have brought the pills. Hold on. Okay, so these are the pills that I currently take. Oh, I have this thing, I have to block my face. I got these off of Amazon. It says you're supposed to take 2 capsules per day. What I find is if I take one in the morning and one kind of like around noon or afternoon, that kind of helps stabilize me throughout the day versus taking 2 at the same time. So yeah, so I take the ashwagandha mostly every day. Sometimes I forget to take it, but I am finding that it's helping. They say that it takes maybe up to 4 weeks for you to really notice a difference. But it's been, I think, 2 to 3 weeks that I've been taking it, and I'd say overall my anxiety is lower, but I do still have panic attacks like I said, about once a week. And it always seems to happen when I'm like doing nothing, like when I'm watching TV or sitting and talking, or, you know, just chilling. Like, that's when it happens. It's not when I'm doing anything exciting or scary or whatever. It's just out of the blue. But I also do tapping exercises. If you guys have ever heard of EFT tapping, it's where you tap on, like, there's certain points like within your body. I think it's called like the meridian points or something. Don't quote me on that. I can leave a link down below to explain it, or you can Google EFT tapping. But there's certain points, like one is here, and then here, let me move right here. There's one here and one here, and then there and there, and then one like under your arm. Oh, and then this one's like a really good one for me. And then here as well. So you can do tapping exercises. So usually when I'm having an attack, I do the tapping and breathing exercises as well. And then there's like the thing where you like focus on, I think it's like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, like that thing. I kind of don't have that memorized. So I just kind of try to, I kind of try to focus I focus on an object, and I like think about, okay, noticing all the details of that object, and like, how do I think it was made, and like where, you know, just, oh, it's green and it's fluffy or whatever, you know. I try to like focus my attention on something to just kind of like get my mind, you know, off of the anxiety that I'm feeling. Also, don't resist it when you're having an attack, which is hard, because I used to do that. I used to tell myself, no, don't get anxious, but that makes you more anxious. So it's kind of like, what I call it is ride the wave, because for me it is literally like a wave. Like when I reach that peak point, that's when I'm like, you know, thinking I'm gonna die, and then it kind of slowly fades. So I just try to like ride that wave. And then I also do take medication as well. A while ago I was prescribed, right now I think I'm on lorazepam. I don't know what the actual brand name of that is. I'm on like the smallest possible dosage. It's like 0.5 milligram. But I don't take that every day, because you can take anxiety medicine every day, but you shouldn't, because then you'll get addicted to it. So I just take those, you know, when I'm having an attack or when I feel like one is coming. But even sometimes that medicine doesn't really work, and I don't really like relying on medication. I have talked to my doctor about going on like long-term medication. At this point I'd have to start like an antidepressant, but I'm like, I really am trying to avoid doing that. So I'm trying to find other ways to cope with the anxiety. Oh, and also meditation. I meditate every day. There's an app called Breathe, BREETHE. That's not a sponsored link or anything, but that's just really what I use. They have meditations on there specifically for anxiety, for panic attacks and all that stuff. But I find that just becoming very present and slowing down, that helps me a lot. But that's pretty much what I do right now. Like I said, it's still something I'm currently dealing with. Now the anxiety has kind of shifted to become like health anxiety, where I'm like convinced that there's something physically wrong with me. Every time I have an attack, I'm convinced like, maybe the doctors missed something. Maybe they don't know what they're talking about. Like there has to be something wrong with my heart or with my brain or whatever. And I'll be honest, I am going through extensive testing with a cardiologist, just to kind of, I told myself, once I hear from the cardiologist that there's nothing wrong with my heart, that's going to relieve anxiety for me, because then I can rest and know like, all right, it literally is just anxiety. So later this week, I'm actually going to be having the little like heart monitor thing on, and then I have to do like a stress test where I like walk on the treadmill and they test that, and then they're going to test my kidneys and like all these different things just to make sure. But I'm like, once I get that reassurance that there's nothing, actually wrong with me, I think that's going to alleviate a lot of the anxiety. And then the last thing is, I do also kind of have not social anxiety, but it's kind of turned into the fear of like going outside and like having a panic attack in public. I think it's called agoraphobia, however it is. I'll put the word down here. I'm starting to have that as well, where I'm avoiding, certain situations. I'm avoiding being in public places, going to the grocery store. That's like a really like a big anxiety thing for me, because I'm afraid that I'm going to have a panic attack in public and I'm going to pass out and all this stuff's going to happen. And so it's just a constant, I'll say battle. It's like a constant battle of telling myself, you're fine, nothing's going to happen, reassuring. But what I find that also does help is talking to people, especially when I'm having a panic attack. I'll usually call one of my family members or call a friend and just say, hey, I'm having a panic attack. I just want to let you know, check on me in an hour, make sure I'm still alive and breathing, but also just having somebody there to like kind of talk me through it and say, you're fine. Like, you've been to the doctor multiple times. They've checked everything. You're good. Just basically reassuring me that I'm not going to die. Because when I'm having an attack now, like that's my biggest fear, is that I'm going to just like, poof, just gone. So all that to say, if you are dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, I just want to let you know you're not alone in this. That's what helped me a lot, is just knowing that it's a very common thing. Maybe not a lot of people talk about it, but you're not alone in going through that. And if you have any tips or have any recommendations or things that work for you, or maybe your story with anxiety, you guys can go ahead and comment that, and I'll read that and respond to you. And kind of just, I feel like it's best to just have a community, like a group. I even was looking for like a support group online to join and stuff, because I just feel like talking about it helps a lot. But yeah, it's a journey. It's a process. I'm not going to lie to you and say, everything is perfect and everything's fine and I'm fixed. I believe I'm getting better. But I know that I still have a ways to go with it. But I believe if you're going through it as well, there is hope for us. I have met and talked to people who were going through exactly what I was going through, and they were able to overcome, and now they barely even have panic attacks, if any at all. So I know there is hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it just may be a process. It may take time, but we just have to stay encouraged and believe that, we'll be able to get through this. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, you guys. Thank you for watching my video. I should be back with another video sometime soon. I hope you guys enjoyed, but till next time, stay great, stay awesome, stay beautiful. See you guys. Bye.